Scientists may have reversed brain aging with a simple nasal spray. Source: Texas A&M University research published in the Journal of Extracellular Vesicles. What if growing older did not necessarily mean losing your memory, mental sharpness, or ability to think clearly? For decades, scientists believed that gradual cognitive decline was an unavoidable consequence of aging, a slow deterioration caused by accumulated damage inside the brain. But researchers at Texas A&M University have now reported a remarkable breakthrough that could fundamentally change how scientists think about brain aging itself. In a new study, researchers developed an experimental nasal spray that appears to reverse key features of brain aging by calming chronic inflammation, restoring the brain's energy systems, and dramatically improving memory and cognitive performance. Most astonishing of all, the effects emerged after only 2 doses and lasted for months. Although the treatment is still in the early experimental stage, the findings raise an extraordinary possibility. Aging-related mental decline may not be permanent after all. One of the central problems associated with aging brains is a process scientists call neuroinflammaging. Over time, the brain develops persistent low-level inflammation that slowly interferes with normal neural function. Unlike the short-term inflammation the body uses to fight infection or injury, chronic brain inflammation can quietly persist for years, gradually damaging neurons and disrupting communication between brain cells. Researchers increasingly believe this ongoing inflammatory state plays a major role in cognitive decline, memory loss, dementia, and neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's. In many ways, aging brains become trapped in a constant state of cellular stress, where inflammation steadily erodes the brain's ability to repair itself and maintain healthy function. The Texas A&M research team focused on a highly innovative strategy to interrupt this destructive cycle. Instead of using conventional drugs, they turned to microscopic biological structures known as extracellular vesicles, often called EVs. These tiny particles are naturally produced by cells throughout the body and function as biological delivery systems, transporting genetic material and molecular signals between cells. Scientists engineered these vesicles to carry specialized molecules called microRNAs, which act as powerful regulators capable of controlling multiple biological pathways simultaneously. Rather than targeting just one symptom or one protein, the therapy was designed to broadly reprogram inflammatory and metabolic processes inside the aging brain itself. What makes the approach especially remarkable is the delivery method. The researchers administered the treatment using a simple nasal spray. Normally, the brain is protected by the blood-brain barrier, an extremely selective defense system that blocks many substances from entering brain tissue through the bloodstream. This barrier makes developing neurological treatments extraordinarily difficult because many drugs cannot effectively reach the brain. But intranasal delivery allows therapeutic molecules to bypass much of this barrier and travel directly into brain tissue through pathways connected to the nasal cavity. In essence, the nasal spray provides a non-invasive shortcut into the brain without requiring surgery or complex procedures. Once inside the brain, the treatment appeared to target some of the most important inflammatory systems linked to aging and neurodegeneration. The researchers found that the therapy suppressed major inflammatory pathways, including the NLRP3 inflammasome and the Chi-gas-STING signaling system, both strongly associated with chronic brain inflammation and age-related cellular damage. These pathways are believed to contribute heavily to the persistent immune activation seen in aging brains. By calming these inflammatory mechanisms, the therapy may allow neurons and surrounding support cells to return to healthier functional state. But the most fascinating effects went far beyond inflammation reduction alone. Scientists also discovered that the treatment restored mitochondrial function inside brain cells. Mitochondria are often described as the power plants of the cell because they generate the energy required for nearly every biological process. As brains age, mitochondria become less efficient, producing less energy while generating harmful oxidative stress that further damages neurons. Declining mitochondrial function is increasingly recognized as a central driver of cognitive aging. According to the researchers, The therapy effectively helped reactivate these damaged energy systems, giving neurons what they described as their spark back. By restoring cellular energy production, the treatment may allow brain cells to recover their ability to process information, form memories, and maintain communication networks. The behavioral results were equally striking. Experimental models receiving the nasal spray performed significantly better on tests involving memory, object recognition, and environmental awareness compared to untreated groups. They demonstrated stronger cognitive flexibility and improved ability to recognize changes in their surroundings, functions that typically decline during aging and neurodegenerative disease. Perhaps most remarkably, these improvements persisted for months, after only 2 doses, suggesting the therapy may trigger longer-lasting biological repair processes rather than producing only temporary symptom relief. The implications for diseases such as Alzheimer's could be enormous. Current Alzheimer's treatments primarily focus on slowing disease progression or reducing toxic protein buildup after substantial brain damage has already occurred. But this new approach aims to intervene at a more fundamental biological level by restoring the brain's internal repair systems and reducing the chronic inflammation believed to drive degeneration in the first place. Researchers believe future versions of the therapy could potentially help preserve neuronal communication, reduce oxidative stress, improve resilience against cognitive decline, and possibly even slow the progression of dementia itself. Another important aspect of the study is that the treatment appeared effective across both sexes. In biomedical research, therapies often produce different outcomes in males and females because of hormonal and genetic differences affecting disease pathways. The researchers reported that treatment responses remained consistent across both groups, suggesting the underlying mechanisms may operate broadly regardless of sex. This consistency could become highly valuable if the therapy eventually advances toward human clinical trials. The potential applications may extend beyond aging and dementia alone. Scientists believe similar approaches could eventually help patients recovering from strokes, traumatic brain injuries, or other neurological disorders involving inflammation and mitochondrial dysfunction. Because the therapy targets fundamental cellular processes rather than a single disease-specific protein, it may have wide-ranging implications for brain health more generally. Perhaps the most profound aspect of this research is the shift in perspective it represents. For much of modern medicine, brain aging was largely viewed as a one-way process, an irreversible decline driven by accumulated damage over time. But discoveries like this suggest the aging brain may retain far greater capacity for recovery and repair than previously believed. Instead of simply accepting cognitive decline as inevitable, scientists are beginning to explore whether aging itself can be biologically modified, slowed, or even partially reversed. There is still a long road ahead before any treatment reaches patients. The therapy remains experimental, additional studies are needed, and human clinical trials have not yet begun. Researchers must still determine long-term safety, effectiveness, dosage optimization, and whether similar results can be reproduced in people. But the proof of concept is undeniably powerful. It demonstrates that carefully targeted biological interventions may be capable of restoring critical functions inside aging brains in ways that once seemed impossible. For decades, the idea of reversing brain aging belonged largely to science fiction. Now, advances in neuroscience, regenerative medicine, and molecular biology are beginning to transform that possibility into a legitimate scientific frontier. If future research confirms these findings, a simple nasal spray may someday become part of an entirely new generation of therapies designed not merely to extend lifespan, but to preserve memory, mental clarity, and cognitive vitality deep into old age.